What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to another video. And today I actually had a different video planned for you guys, but earlier today in the Essential Sales program, I had a good one-on-one with one of our clients, and he was just feeling down about his prospecting. He started doing cold calls. That's one of his decisions. He wanted to use it to supplement his other outreach methods. It's not really one of the methods that we teach, but it's one that he really wants to do. So we are helping him with it. He's feeling demotivated. He was feeling down about actually banging out volume when it came to this. And for those of you that have done cold calls, if you're trying to set appointments through cold calling, you need to get that volume up. So then we just had a little quick one-to-one, heart-to-heart conversation just about mindset and about what it actually takes to see success with this, especially someone for his age being only 19, with someone of his goals where he wants to be making over $30,000 a month. So I want to show you guys that conversation because I think it's awesome. And I think if any of you are in the same boat as him, it would be great for you to hear. So I'm going to let you guys jump right into that and enjoy the video. Yeah, the only thing with cold calling, it definitely works, but you have to have an insanely high volume. Like I would probably want to get to a point where you're doing 100 a day, and the
100 a day.
conversion, but the conversion on that, like the average cold calling conversion, if you're good, is 2%. So like out of that 100, expect to book like 2 meetings.
Mm.
Like that should be your target. So if you're doing 50 a day, expect to book literally like 1 meeting.
Mm. Okay. Yeah. Right now, I'm not doing that many.
How many are you doing?
Well, so the goal I started last week just adding one and one just because uh I've cold called in the past, but I haven't been able to maintain even low numbers. So I just thought I'd go with a different approach.
Mm-hmm.
And so last week I just added one every day, and then Friday I did 5. This week I'm adding 2. Next week I'm adding 3. The week after
Well, how
that
much are you
I'm
cold calling a day right now?
today the goal is 9.
Yeah, man. Well, when it comes to it, how many people have you been talking to and how many people have you been setting meetings with?
In terms of outreach,
Just cold calling, just the cold calling part.
like yeah, so since I started last week, about 20,
Okay, so
20 or 30.
you started about you've um booked about 20 meetings.
No, no.
Oh, you've called only 20 people.
Yeah,
Well, how many meetings have you
really.
booked? How much meetings have you booked though?
Well, I did have one discovery yesterday.
Okay, so is it 1 out of 20 that you've booked so far?
Yeah,
And how many
I guess.
meetings do you want to book a day? Do you want 1 meeting a day, 2 meetings a day, 3?
Yeah.
Well, what's the number? How many meetings do you want a day?
Um, let's start with 1.
Okay, so you got to reverse engineer the numbers. If you called 20 people and booked 1 meeting, why are you calling 10 a day if you want 1 a day? Shouldn't you be doing at least 20 a day? Because that's what your numbers are showing.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, you got to jump right up to that number then. Because if I call for a week and I look back on that week and it took me 20 calls to book 1 meeting and my goal is 1 meeting per day, I at least minimum got to do 20 calls a day to hit that
Mm,
goal, right? Because that's what your numbers have shown you,
mm,
right? So, which is good because that's above average, right?
mm,
So if you can crank that up to 30, 40 a day, 50 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 a book one meeting. And in order to do that, the best way is to just get a list, upload that list into like a dialer on your computer, put on your headset, and just have the dialer onto the next one, onto the next one, onto the next one. Have that push through, because instead of sitting there typing in 905, you know what I mean? Get a dialer, find a software or something, where you could just upload a list of prospects of like 200 people, and then just have that dialer ring the next one. The second you hang up, the next one will start ringing. And that's how you just got to bang out volume. Like if you're doing cold calls, literally, if you're doing cold calls over Messenger or over email, you got to bang out volume. Right? Skill will be a lot of it too in what you're doing, and you can optimize your pitch and all that. We can definitely work on that, but that means nothing until you're banging out volume. Because I can't even ask you, what are you saying? Let's see if we can work on what you're saying, see if we can make it better. If the volume's not there, because we don't have ample data to know what's working and what's not until you're able to book 10 meetings out of 100, 200, 300 calls. Right?
Yeah.
If you book 10 meetings out of 100 calls, way above average, then we can look at that and be like, okay, so for the next 100 calls, let's try this and see if we can get that to 20. Let's see if we can get that to 30. And if it tanks, then we know we go back to what was getting you the 10 calls. Right now, you're booking 1 out of 20. You bang out 20 a day in 1 month. You have tons of calls, right? In 1 week, Monday to Friday, that's 100 calls a week. You should book 5 meetings. That's 5%. Right? You book 5 meetings out of the 100 calls. Then maybe we tweak up the pitch a little bit. And then we see, okay, week 2 out of 100 dials, 20 a day. How many did we book? Did we book 10 this time? Did we book the 6 this time? Did we book the exact same, or did we go down? And if we go down, now we go back to what was getting us 5, or we tweak it again and see if we can get to that 10, see if we can improve on that. But then we can always go back to what was getting us 5, because that's getting us that consistent amount of meetings per week, right?
Sorry.
And no worries. But once we find that thing that's working the best as well, then we just work on scaling that. And then you can get a cold caller in. Once you've tested out a bunch of different scripts, you get a cold caller in to do those calls for you for $5, $6, $7, $8 an hour. I don't know how many. It depends. It depends on what they're doing. You can get them international, $4, $3. It depends. Again, it just depends on speed. How long does it take you to dial 20 people? If you have a dialer for them, they could bang out 20 people in an hour. Right? And that just depends on how many conversations they're actually getting on. You can play a flat rate, I'll pay you X amount to dial 20 people a day, conversations not included, but it's a flat rate plus commission on closes, right? Plus 10% if they close. Get someone to set appointments for you, but you can't do that until you have the numbers to reverse engineer. How can we do that? How can we hire someone and scale this thing if we don't know our numbers? And the only way to know your numbers is to just crank the volume. If you're doing cold calls, crank the volume, and that'll give you a really clear picture. And if you're at 10 right now and you're growing by 1 a day, it's going to take you so long to get to that point where you can reverse engineer the numbers. As soon as you book that first meeting, that gives you a placeholder for what you should be doing. And that placeholder for you right now is 20. So I say tomorrow you dial 20, man. Minimum. That's a minimum. And if you can book 1 meeting tomorrow out of those 20, then you have a really good placeholder. Because your goal, like you said, you want 1 a day. So does it really make sense to dial 11 tomorrow instead of 20? Because you say you're going by 1 a day, sometimes 5 a day you're jumping up by, but you're literally purposefully doing something that's not going to let you hit your goal based on what you've already achieved. Right?
So, yeah. The idea is just that, since like since I haven't been able to like maintain even low numbers in the past, I wanted to like incrementally increase the number of calls per
But
day,
why haven't you been able to maintain low numbers?
because I feel horrible doing it.
Then why are you doing it?
Because like I just have to get over myself. It's just like I would face the same problem on a sales call or a discovery or anything, right? So this is just something I think I struggle with personally.
But if you can push yourself to do 10, why can't you push yourself to do 20? At the end of the day, you're doing it. You hate doing calls, right? You got two things. You either suck it up and do it because what do you want more? Do you want the benefits of doing it, or are you fine with just hating it and not seeing the results purposefully? Because if you're going to do it, why not do it to the point that's going to make you happy by getting one meeting a day, right? For example, if I hate working out, but I want big muscles, that's like me going to the gym, knowing that if I work out for an hour, I'm going to get big muscles in a year, but I hate working out. So I'm just going to work out for 20 minutes and prolong that success. For what reason? I'm prolonging what I hate to do. Now I'm going to hate it even more because I got to do it way more to hit my goal. So wouldn't you rather, if you really hate it, wouldn't you rather cut it down a little bit, do it less? If you hate it, why not dial 100 a day and only do cold calls once a day? Or just do cold calls once a week because you're dialing 100, you're hitting the 100 a day. Book a couple meetings, book 2-3 meetings. There you go. If you can consistently do 20, a book every 20, that would make sense, right? So whatever volume you can crank it up to, even though you hate it, it's just going to allow you to hit your goal sooner and you'll be doing less in the long run. Instead of doing 10 a day. But like if you really feel like crap doing it, why not do a different outreach method? Why do you pick cold calling if you don't like it? Do you hate emails? Do you hate messenger outreach even more than cold calls? Why cold calls if you don't like it so much?
I've it it's the easiest way that I know.
It's the easiest way that you know. Okay, cool. You want to be a business owner?
Yeah.
How much money do you want to make in your business?
I want to make 30K
30K every what?
every month.
Okay, how many people in the world make 30 grand a month running their own business?
I don't even know.
Just take a guess.
A lot of people.
A lot of people. What percentage of the male population makes 30 grand a month? Or yeah, what's the population? What do you think? What's the percentage?
Mm, 5%, 3%.
Okay. So you believe it's 3% of men in the world that make
Oh no.
30 grand a month? No, that sounds accurate because if you make over 500,000 a year and 30K is like 320 or whatever, if you make over 500,000 a year, you're top 1% of earners. So sure, let's say 300,000, let's say 30K a month is top 3% of earners. How old are you?
I'm 19.
Okay, how many people at 19 make 30 grand a month in their own business?
Very few.
Very few. Definitely 1% or less.
Yeah.
So you want a 1% or less result without really putting in that much work. Is that really fair? Do you think you should get that result? You think you should be in the top 1% of all people for your age group on the planet without doing something that you hate for an extra hour or two a day? That's just what you want. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Your logic is like impeccable. Oh shit.
It just doesn't make sense what you want. You want to be in the top 1%. You got to do what only 1% of people are willing to do.
Yep. Yep.
And I'll tell you, there's lots of people willing to dial 100 a day,
Mm.
especially if it nets them 30 grand a month. But you're struggling to hit 20, to hit a goal of one meeting a day. So come on, man. You just got to suck it up. What are your goals? Honestly, it's just these are just petty excuses. You're self-talking. You're literally putting yourself down, thinking, "Oh, I hate this. I hate this." Don't. Why are you thinking about that? Think about the benefit. Think about what's going to happen in the long term. Think about why you're doing this. Self-talk is so powerful, man. When you tell yourself, "This sucks. I hate this," you make it so much harder. Stop thinking about that. Stop telling yourself that. Because at the end of the day, you think again, becoming in the top 1%, even less than 1% at your age at 19 years old, you think you're going to hit that without doing anything that you don't like to do. It sounds like a spoiled brat, bro. If you really think about it. You gotta suck it up and you gotta just do it. If that's what you want to do, you don't want to apply other methods, you just want to cold call because you think that's the easiest thing for you and that's what's going to get you the results, then grind, man. Do you have a full-time job?
No.
Okay. Do you have a part-time job?
No.
So what are you doing other than grinding? I'm not saying you got to put in 12, 15 million hours a day. I'm not saying work yourself to the bone. I'm just saying apply what makes sense to hit the goal you just set for yourself based on the results you've been achieving, which is one meeting every 20 calls. So if you're not even willing to do the 20 calls to hit the goal you just told me you want, then what are you even doing? Get a part-time job to supplement or get a full-time job. Or just put in the work. You got lots of choices, but man, you're young, super young. So much time. Sound like Gary Vee now. But at the end of the day, you are young. And if you put in the work now, 6 months to a year of just grinding it out will put you in a completely different situation. You can definitely hit 30K a month in the next year. But I'll tell you what, you can definitely, even if not that, you could definitely be doing this full time. Even if not that number, even if it's not 30K, you could definitely be doing this as a full-time position in the next 6 months to a year. Even quicker than that if you're really, really willing to put in the work, but it just comes down to you.
It does.
What do you want and what are you willing to sacrifice to get that? Because you don't become a 1%er without sacrifice.
That's true.
You don't even become a 20%er, a 10%er. You don't become anything without sacrifice. You need to sacrifice to do anything of substantial value. And your time is your most valuable asset. And if you're not willing to sacrifice some of that, well, you're going to have to find another asset to give up, but nothing's going to be as valuable, which means nothing's going to provide as big of a reward. Risk to reward ratio. That's how it works.
Yep.
You know, at the end of the day, 10 years from now, 5 years from now, even a year from now, you're going to look back and you'll be like, man, why didn't I just crank up the volume? Why didn't I just start making more calls? Why didn't I just talk to more people? What was I crying about? Would you hate making the calls if you're making 30 grand a month, but you had to dial 50 people a day or 100 people a day? Would you hate that? If you were guaranteed 30 grand per month, but you have to dial 200 people a day, would you hate that? And you can say yes. I mean, I probably would, but would you? Just yes or no, man. 200 people a day for 30 grand a month. Would you hate it? Yes or no?
Probably I'd get used to it.
But would you like it? Yes or no?
Probably not,
No,
but
you wouldn't like it, but could you take 10 grand and get someone else to do it if you were still guaranteed that 30?
yeah.
Okay, so that's business.
Mm,
There you go. But someone's got to build that foundation. Someone's got to put those systems in place to make that whole thing work.
yeah.
And if it's not going to be you, then who? Because people aren't going to give it to you.
Mm,
At the end of the day, man, we are men. And once we hit adulthood, no one cares about us. Unless we're building value, putting something out there of value, building something, creating something, no one cares about us. No one's going to take care of us, not mommy and daddy, nothing. Not your
mm,
friends, nothing. At the end
mm,
of the day, if you learn this lesson now, you're going to be super well off.
mm,
Don't wait till you're 30 to learn that lesson.
mm,
It's up to you.
mm. Yeah.
Awesome.
Okay. Okay.
Just do the work.
Okay.
Just put in the work.
Yep.
And if you don't want to put in the work, that's okay too. I'm not saying you have to put in the work. That's completely fine. You don't have to. You don't gotta do anything. You could do whatever it is you want. But then don't
Mm,
turn around and say your goal is 30 grand a month.
mm. Yeah.
Just change your goals.
Mm,
If your goal is 5K a month, sure. If your goal is
mm,
100K a month, though, or 30K a month, or 20K a month, then you got to do some work to back that up.
mm.
Because if
Yeah.
anyone can just lazily get to that amount, then it just wouldn't even matter anymore.
Mm. Yeah.
You hear all the people that have achieved anything great, what are the first thing they say is, I'm glad it's this hard.
Mm,
Only the people that put in real work can have it.
mm. Yeah. Yeah.
Man, I'm just being blunt with you, man.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna sugarcoat it
No.
because trust me, I've been through it too, man. There's so many times I'm like, oh man, I just every day there's stuff I don't want to do. I didn't want to get up at 6 a.m. this morning.
Mm,
You know, there's tons of stuff I don't want to do. But if I want to fit in a certain amount of things within my day and have enough time to, you know, wake up, read, go to the gym later, hop on this call with you guys,
mm.
do some outreach, take other calls to onboard more people. There's so much stuff I want to do in a day. And I look at the day and I say, okay, there's 24 hours. What can I fit in here?
Yeah.
And if I don't want to fit certain things in there, that's fine too. But then I can't turn around and say XYZ is my goal.
Mm. Yeah.
We don't have to do anything,
Yeah.
but adjust your goals.
Okay. 20 calls from today.
At least if
Yeah.
that's what your numbers are showing. But if you start doing that and your numbers change and they say, okay, let's say your numbers change to 1 in 40 instead of 1 in 20, start doing 40.
Yeah.
And if you don't like that, then get better at talking to people. There's a lot of variables, but
Yeah.
you just got to decide which ones you can change. And it's all about split testing.
Yeah.
And once you start cranking out that volume, then we can talk about the script, the pitch, what's going on there. Then we can, because we can't make adjustments like this with 5 a day, 10 a day. We can't make adjustments because there's just not a big enough law of average. There's no numbers there for us to really break down and sink our teeth into.
Yeah.
Make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.